And is it plausible for the US government to take a 5% position?
So again, lots of things are possible. I also think that it may not even be necessary. We have plurality of the mining hash here. We probably have a plurality, maybe the majority of actual Bitcoin in custody, whether it's in institutional grade custody, individual holders in the United States. And as long as we remain committed to the rule of law, like we stand to gain from our national balance sheet from Bitcoin's appreciation as a reserve asset, right?
Well, also the innovation and the companies, the majority of the large Bitcoin companies are here.
Exactly, right? And not just the sort of market value, but the intellectual capital, right?
Yeah.
That people are attracted to come to the United States. It's a safe place for Bitcoin. It's a safe place for innovation. Like that is a compelling theme that even in the absence of these geopolitical trends would be really positive. And I think it's just, places even more wind behind those sails. So yeah, to a certain extent, I can imagine the United States having some allocation to Bitcoin in the far future, but I'm not sure that it makes a material difference as long as they, like for me, I want the majority of Bitcoin to be owned by individuals, right?
Yeah.
So like, if the Federal Reserve eventually, they'd have to change some of their rules or hold some special purpose investment vehicle to hold an asset like Bitcoin. I don't think it's a plausible thing in the near term, especially because I think the way that it's going to evolve is Bitcoin as a reserve asset in the near term is useful for the United States to buttress trust in the US government. Because the reason you hold a treasury security in the first place is you have trust in the US government. They're going to pay you back. They're going to maintain a relatively stable fiscal and monetary policy. And so you have confidence that you put your money in a treasury, you're going to, get your coupon paid out. You're not going to lose in real terms. Well, we're obviously seeing kind of a structural trend towards financial repression where bondholders are going to have to get hosed, right? And we've put in a whole bunch of kind of rules, Basel regulations, other kind of capital requirements that sort of lock up the big pools of capital and force them to buy treasuries, which makes treasuries like a less attractive asset to hold. But if Bitcoin can help, at least on the margin, sustain a bid for treasuries in this sort of transition period, right? Where people, if there's a lot of Bitcoin that's worth a lot more in the United States, that improves the taxable base for the U.S. government, like in the long term, which improves the fiscal health of the country, right? Essentially recapitalizing. And to a certain extent, if you think about, right now, like the two candidate neutral reserves assets that exist is gold and Bitcoin. Well, we hold a lot more Bitcoin relative to the rest of the world than we hold gold relative to the rest of the world. And so if you were to like monetize gold and sort of shift to like a new gold peg standard, Russia's going to win a lot. India's going to win a lot. China's going to win a lot. Yeah, we'll win too because we have a decent amount of gold. But net, our adversaries gain more than us if gold were to be remonetized. And a lot of gold bugs, Peter Schiff would win, right? So we can't let that happen. Whereas Bitcoin, China's kicked Bitcoin out. So if Bitcoin were to monetize, marginally more than gold were to be remonetized, US would gain disproportionately relative to China. And so if that's the end game of this monetary phase transition to a new regime where you have a neutral reserve asset that underpins still fiat currencies and treasury issuance, then Bitcoin is sort of our ace in the hole, right? The game that Russia and China seem to be moving towards is a multi-currency regime where gold is pegged to essentially the price of commodities. So they control hard assets in their mind. They control hard assets like gold. They control hard assets like commodities, energy, food, et cetera. We control the printing press. And we've been able to kind of keep that system going. But if the world shifts to a hard asset-backed regime, they're going to be net winners in that regime. And so that's why the US is fighting so hard against it, right? Because we would lose if that were to be the new regime, or would there be a rebalance of power? I wouldn't say we would like lose strategically, but it would be a new balance of power arrangement.